Hey my heathens, what's up? J4D3 here, and we're drawing a picture of Bjorn and Ragnar. And to start out, we're going to be using these DeWitt watercolor pencils. These are Inktense, is what they're called. At least these three packages of them I have here. And they're pretty colorful and a pretty cool medium. So I got 3 sets. And just kind of showing them off here. Now I've had these for a while. I don't really use them that much, as you can tell. And then for whatever reason, I lost a couple pencils out of this set. 4 pencils to be exact. But I don't know. I like them. And then I just got these ones from a thrift store, and they're cheapies. But they work great. So, you don't have to buy the expensive ones. These Staedtlers work just fine. They're not quite as muted as some of the Inktense pencils. So, I guess they're good for bright pictures. Now, the painting I'm working on here is, as I said earlier, Bjorn and Ragnar. And I don't really want to use super bright colors except on the shields. So I use a lot more of the muted tones from the Inktense. I think it's the graphite set. And then I also go over it with my Daniel Smith watercolor paints. I've talked about those a little bit before, where they're super expensive. You're talking like $9 to maybe even $15 a tube, depending on what they are. And the reason why those things are so spendy is because they are made of, well, a lot of them are made of ground up semi-precious stones. Like I got a blue tube that is ground up lapis lazuli. I think I pronounced that right. Or ground up hematite. So this is kind of like old world master type paint, where you're not getting a ton of synthetic colors or synthetic pigments. They're sticking to more traditional style of paint making. Anyways, that's a little bit later. So what I'm doing right here is, as you can tell, I was layering Harlequin, as I'm layering these pencils down to, to get a more interesting color profile. So there's some reds and some purples and some browns, and then I top it off with yellow on the shield, which will make it more of an orange hue. And the cool thing about these paints is you can see there's lots of white spots inside of the area that I'm covering with these paint pencils. And that's fine, because what you do is you can activate them. You can use alcohol or water. I use water because alcohol will give you a different effect and kind of push pigments away. So if that's what you're trying to do, go ahead, but experiment with it on some tester sheets. If you just want to make it look like a regular watercolor painting, go ahead and just use water. And you can actually dip these pencils and it'll activate them as paint. But what I like to do is, after I lay them down, is go over them with a wet paintbrush. Yeah, so the only color I had that was kind of flesh tone was from the cheaper set, which it covered pretty good. But I went over it with some yellow ochre and then with some blues in the same set, because if you ever look at skin, there's so many different colors in there. It's not just all peachy flesh tones. There's blues and purples and reds. And so I want to really incorporate some of these other colors. To bring out the more realistic skin tones. The other thing I did on this one too is I colored in Ragnar's eyes to where they're all black. So I think it made him look more haunting, where I kept Bjorn's pupils Because at this point in the story of Vikings, Bjorn's an up-and-coming warrior where Ragnar's already an established king. All right, so here we go. This is what it looks like when you start adding the water to these pencils. So as you can tell, it just like turns it right into watercolor paint. It's pretty cool. And you can see where the yellow and the ochre mixed in with that flesh tone that I had earlier. And look at this right here. You can really see the yellows kind of come out and make the reds into an orange color. I like the way it kind of made it appear to be textured like wood. And that probably has a lot to do with the kind of paper I'm using. This is a cold pressed watercolor paper. It's quite a large piece. I think this one cost me like $10 for this one sheet of paper, so I don't really use this paper that often unless I have something kind of special I want to paint on. And I had a couple requests on how to use these pencils, so that's why I broke out this expensive piece of paper. You can see the edge there is all beveled, and that's because of the way it's made. It's handmade paper. So I didn't really like the way that this covered completely, so that's why I got out the Daniel Smith paint here. And I wanted to add a lot more depth, make it kind of look leathery and rugged. And I think I did a pretty good job on that, especially a little bit later when I start adding some greens. Because if you ever look at like a rugged leather armor, I have a couple pieces myself, and they pick up a lot of different colors. It's not just always brown. When you see armor like that and it's like dark brown, that usually means it's been dyed. Yeah, I do like this green color. I avoided using any solid blacks. I did use a little bit of black ink later on to show some definition in their faces, because I just didn't think it was picking up quite enough. So yeah, you can see now how I put the green in on Bjorn's tunic and armor, and I think that looks pretty sweet. Makes it look a lot more rugged. It kind of reminds me of the look from Lord of the Rings when you're looking at Strider's outfit in the beginning of the first movie, where he has kind of like some greens and burnt umbers and burnt siennas in his outfit. Also, you can see right there I'm putting in the work in on Bjorn's beard and his mohawk, because I didn't really like the lack of texture that just using the pencils gave me. Same thing with Ragnar here. So just about done doing the paintings on this piece, and I'm going to put in the background. I want to use more, like I said, the red is the only like popping color I wanted to use, so I wanted to use more of like an earth tone and kind of mute down the background, just like I did with this leather here. So I used kind of a washed out, a little bit of lapis, but then kind of a washed out seafoam color, a blue, not a green, for the sky, because I imagine they're standing on like a field in Norway, and they have such beautiful stormy skies there. Maybe shield to shield on a fjord, or shield to shield outside Connecticut, about ready to do battle. Yeah, that looks really nice, doesn't it? Using that muted gray color. You can see my my water container's a Coke can that I cut the top off of. Also, these paintbrushes I'm using are super duper cheap. They're just some crappy industrial paintbrushes, and I wanted to use those instead of like really fine paintbrushes, because I wanted to keep it looking fairly loose. Yep, even that little orange one I'm using is a little number 3, I think, number 3 square head paintbrush. And I just wanted to keep everything kind of loose feeling. I do add a little bit of white from liquid watercolor on their heads to show just the reflection of light coming out through the sky, and give their skin tone a little more depth here. Yeah, right there. I think that was still a pretty smart choice. If I was working, paying attention, I could have just used the paper white for that, but instead I had to add a little bit of white white watercolor. And this is a Tombow brush pen. Oh, no, that's not a Tombow brush pen. That is a sepia brush pen by Prismacolor. Yeah, so I didn't use black. I just started using brown. There's a gel pen for the eyes. I'm going to do Ragnar's head tattoos here in a second. Anyways, I'm almost done here, my heathens, so I'm going to bounce out of here. And if you made it this far, thank you for watching. I'm trying to hit 1,000 subscribers, so if you're not subscribed, please do and help me out. Very cool. You take care and be good to each other, my heathens. J4D3 out of here. Bye.